The dentist didn't speak at first. He slid the X-ray across the counter as though it carried disease. "Who is she really?" he asked. I stared at him, unsure whether to laugh or break his jaw. He tapped the shadow on the image, something small, sharp, buried in the bone of my daughter's jaw like a seed planted long ago. "It's not dental. It's not human," the word echoed. "Not human." I forced my expression blank. My daughter sat in the waiting room, swinging her legs, smiling, unaware. The dentist leaned in, whispering like he feared the walls. It grew with her, from the inside out. I took the image, folded it once, slipped it into my coat. I didn't respond. But something inside me broke, quietly, the way glass shatters underwater. At home, I watched her sleep. My daughter, 5 years old, breathing softly, clutching her toy rabbit. Perfect, beautiful, mine. And yet, this foreign object lived in her, had always lived in her. Questions burned holes in me. Whose child was she? What had my wife done? Memories resurfaced with clarity I'd once buried. The late nights she claimed were work. The trips she took with explanations too neat, too polished. The neighbor who stared too long when he thought I wasn't watching. I wanted to dismiss it, to cling to the fragile lie we'd built. But the X-ray sat on the table, its black and white certainty cutting deeper than suspicion. The horror wasn't the object itself. It was what it represented, a truth she thought she'd buried in flesh and time. Infidelity leaves stains. This one had grown teeth. I began the investigation as I had in my former life, methodical, invisible. DNA testing first. I plucked a strand of my daughter's hair from her pillow, my own from the sink, sealed them in sterile envelopes. Next came my wife. Her phone left unattended during showers, her laptop carelessly unlocked. I collected evidence like an archivist of betrayal. Receipts from hotels in our outside town, calls to numbers unsaved but frequent, a pattern emerging like bruises under pale skin. And then the medical records. She'd gone alone to appointments while pregnant, claimed I was deployed, unavailable. But the names in the files didn't match the doctors she'd told me about. Each step tightened the noose, though I kept my composure. She laughed at dinner, kissed me goodnight, believed she was safe. But silence is a weapon, and I sharpened mine daily. I didn't ask her questions. I didn't reveal suspicion. I waited for the truth to surface like a corpse in shallow water. The DNA results arrived in a plain envelope, as unassuming as a bill. Probability of paternity, 0%. I felt no shock, only confirmation. I sat at the kitchen table, the envelope beside my coffee. My wife entered, cheerful, humming. She stopped when she saw the paper. "What's that?" I slid it toward her. Her hands trembled as she unfolded it. Her eyes scanned the words, then froze. Color drained from her face. She looked up at me, lips parting to form lies that would never leave her throat. I said nothing. Silence did the work. Tears followed, then babbled words. "I was lonely. You were gone. I didn't think." I cut her off with a single look. The truth wasn't negotiable, and neither was I. That evening, I set the X-ray on the table beside the DNA report. 2 artifacts, 2 confessions etched in black and white. "Tell me his name," I said. She shook her head, sobbing. I leaned back, folding my hands. Calm, detached. "I already know." Her eyes widened. She understood then. This wasn't discovery. This was execution. "I won't scream," I said. "I won't break things. I won't give you the dignity of chaos. But you will leave this house tonight. And when the courts see this evidence, you will understand what losing everything feels like." She collapsed to the floor, pleading. I walked past her, picked up my daughter from her room, still sleeping, safe in ignorance. My wife's cries followed me down the hall, But they held no weight. I had already buried her. She was gone by morning. The house was quiet again. My daughter woke asking for breakfast, unaware her world had shifted overnight. I smiled, steady. She didn't need to know the rot I'd cut from our lives. Not yet. The object in her jaw would be removed in time. But the deeper object, the betrayal, it was mine to carry. I didn't feel pity. Not for my wife. Not for the man who fathered what I raised. What mattered was choice. She chose deception. He chose intrusion. And I chose survival. In betrayal, there is always a victor and a corpse. She made her choice long ago. Now she could live with the burial. She gave me a daughter built on lies, and I turned those lies into her ruin.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. Subscribe now to Cheating Stories Insight World for more amazing stories.